Everyone says avoid suburbs with high social housing and low income residents. But what if those exact areas, exact houses hold the best hidden upside in Ballarat? Is it worth it? Let's settle this once and for all. Wendouree, Sebastopol and Redan. Ballarat's three most notorious suburbs, all ranked with the lowest socioeconomic score of 1. But here's a question. Which one is truly the worst and which one might secretly make you money? I'm Oliver from Inside to Buyers Agency. We help investors manufacture equity through designer strategies and data-backed suburb picks. And today, we are putting Ballarat's bottom 3 head to head. Buckle up, this is potentially going to get spicy, potentially dangerous, but now for context, these 3 suburbs all share the rough reps: low socioeconomic scores, higher rented to owner occupier ratios, and below average prestige, just like this house. Wendouree, yes, it's got a high renter base, 43%, and IRSD well below average, and high pockets of social housing, up to as high as 48% in the Willow Grove and Revelia Road pockets. Sebastopol, this one wears its rough edges loud, working class, tradie heavy, but let's dig deep into the research. Yields are climbing a little bit, stock is tight, and gentrifiers are circling in a little bit. Redan, old housing stock, high turnover, and patchy streets. But it's a walk to the CBD, and surprisingly, 48% renters with a high concentration of social housing, as high as 52% along Sutton Street. These aren't leafy blue chip postcodes, they're gritty working class and full of overlooked potential. All 3 suburbs have below average education levels, IRSD scores under 900, 1 out of 10, but a strong trade and healthcare employment. We mostly have detached houses dominant, full of renters, and riding off the back of Ballarat's infrastructure boom. If you're looking for polish, these aren't your suburbs. This is where it starts. Wendouree, typical house price at about 467,000. Sebastopol, cheapest at that low 400, about 430 mark. Surprisingly, highest at 488,000. Now, here's the first shocker. Redan, supposedly the working class bargain, actually costs you more to buy into than both Wendouree and Sebastopol. Investors want cheap entry. Redan isn't even delivering on that in comparison. Wendouree houses over last year, there's been a growth of 6.1%, 88.8% over 10 years. Sebastopol houses over the last year has grown at about 3.8% and 81.9% over 10 years. Redan houses 1.17% last year, 79.8% over 10 years. The growth tells the story. Wendouree is punching above its weight, with fastest sales in Ballarat, about 30 days on market, and nearly 90% growth over the last decade. Sebastopol has been steady as she goes, slower but still respectable. And Redan, negative growth last year, and it's the long term. Investors are looking for upside. This one's not giving you much to cheer for. The cash flow crown goes to Sebastopol. The best yields across the board and the tightest vacancy rate at just 1.88%. Wendouree is no slouch either. It's sitting in that 4 to 5% range at a rental yield perspective. But Redan, weakest yield on houses at under 4%, and let's face it, a bloated vacancy of 3.88%. That's a red flag. Your property sits empty longer, giving you less rent, and an empty property in Redan has the risk of exactly this happening. All 3 IRSD scores of 1 out of 10. Your renter to owner occupier ratio sits at about 43% for Wendouree, and infrastructure spend in Wendouree is at 3,337. Sebastopol 40%, 1,419 infrastructure spend. Redan 48%, Redan 1,248 infrastructure spend. And all three suburbs are disadvantaged IRSD score of 1, means you're dealing with lower household incomes and socioeconomic disadvantage. But here's a kicker, nearly half of Redan are renters. Combine that with the lowest infrastructure investment of the three, and you've got a poor tenant quality with no new money coming in. Wendouree, the dark horse, strong growth, tighter stock, faster sale, and surprisingly a well-balanced strategy. It's a value hunter's playground. Low entry, solid about that 4.2% yield, and capital growth potential backed by a very tight supply at the moment. Give it the next 5 years and you're looking at serious compounding over time. The strategy, let's face it, this is where it's going to be a buy and hold, refinance by that year 3 mark, and redeploy the equity. Sebastopol, the cash king, top yield in the trio at 4.63%, with tenant demand staying red hot. It's a cash on cash workhorse, quite perfect for funding that potential next deal. First play with a moderate growth upside. Redan, the basket case, weak growth, high renter churn, soft fundamentals, and rising vacancy. Even with its proximity to the CBD, it's putting the investor weight down. Strategy, defensive yield only, expect a little bit more volatility and not velocity in capital growth. Redan is a clear winner of a top underperformer here. It's the weakest profile for investors today. And this is important. Worse doesn't always mean never touch it. It is just not shining. If you're an experienced investor who knows how to reposition stock, there are cheap buys in comparison and opportunities to probably lift that tenant quality a little bit. But for most, I would say it's one to avoid, as there are better options. So that's Ballarat's bottom 3. But talk about the elephant in the room, because pretending these suburbs don't have any rough edges, that's not helping investors make smarter calls. Wendouree, it's got strong fundamentals, sure, but it's also home to Wendouree West, one of Ballarat's most historically disadvantaged public housing estates. Crime stats don't lie. The violent crime rose over 30% and property offences climbed at about that 12% last year in 2024. It ranks 31 out of 100 nationally for crime. And let's face it, that is at the bottom third of the pile. Sebastopol, similar story. Theft and family-related violence are higher here than the Ballarat average. There's active regeneration and affordable appeal. Let's face it, you're still investing into a suburb in transition, not prestige. Redan flies under the radar. It's not as rough, but still sits within the regional socio-housing footprint. And walkability to the CBD doesn't erase some of its patchy streets and higher turnover. But here's the real kicker. These conditions doesn't automatically make a suburb a no-go. They make it a strategy match. If you're doing a buy and hold for rental income, or simply hunting equity uplift renovation, low IRSD scores and higher rental bases can actually work for you. Simply just don't confuse low entry price with low risk, and make sure your strategy fits the street. On paper, Redan takes the top place for the underperformer. Sebastopol is a bit of a safer play, and Wendouree might just surprise everyone. What do you think? A little bit different, hey? Did we crown the right loser? Drop a comment below and tell me which are the bad suburbs you want me to put in the ring next. And let's face it, if this is a kind of data-backed breakdown that helps you cut through the noise, hit the like, smash that subscribe button as hard as that house has been smashed down, and turn on the bell for more. And if you're watching this thinking, I wanted someone to cut through the bullshit and find the right suburb, you know what to do. I'm Oliver from Insight to Buyers Agency. Let's unlock your equity. See you next time.